What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today, joined by a very special guest, Mark Hall of Mark Hall Enterprises, renowned defensive line coach and trainer who's worked with Dexter Lawrence and many other star NFL defensive linemen throughout his career training NFL players. So, Mark, really excited to have you on, excited to talk about the New York Giants and kind of highlight why this defensive line there was a lot of excitement for it going into the season. In my opinion, I think you agree with me. They are living up to the hype, and this defensive line has been a bright spot for this team. But how are you doing today, Mark?
Good, man. How you doing? Appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate you joining me as always. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, we've had Mark on before. Really great defensive mind here who knows everything there is to know about defensive linemen. Go check out the first interview. I'll have that linked down below. And also make sure to go check out Mark's Instagram. You can see it's above his head, Mark Hall, __ Enterprises. But Mark, let's go ahead and start with the overwhelming positive here, which is the emergence of Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeaux. Going into the season, of course, the New York Giants added Abdul Carter, and there was some question marks. How is this going to look with the rotation? Would Thibodeaux take a back seat? Would Brian Burns emerge as that leading man? And so far, he has. Burns has looked great. Thibodeaux has looked great. What's been your impression from those two guys?
Oh man, Burns to me, even when he was with Carolina, just super productive, motor. I mean, one of the most athletic, ends I've seen in a long, long time, and right up there with Javon Curse type guy. So nothing he does surprises me in regards to performance and things like that. Obviously, he's jumped out there this year looking unstoppable. Just coming off the ball with great leverage and speed and attacking angles, and he's one of the best guys when it comes to bending and lowering his hips and stuff like that. I mean, just his impact in these last three games has just been tremendous for the team. Just one of those guys. I've worked with Brian in the past, and I know his brother. And he's just always been phenomenal, man. And he's hard worker. He has all the intangibles. It's funny. I was seeing him walk off the field the other day. I think he got banged up a little bit, and his arms he can practically scratch his knees. Just how long his arms are. So, I'm not surprised with anything that Brian does. Brian's just one of those dudes. You know what I mean? In regards to Thibodeaux too, also had a chance when I was out at Oregon. Had the guys out there some years ago. He was there. Had the opportunity to see him and watch how he trained and worked out, and also had the opportunity to do a little bit of work with them, in their spring game. I was out there doing some consulting for the Ducks, and had the opportunity to see him and do a little bit of work with them. Not My first take on him was just how strong he was. I don't think people really know how strong Thibodeaux is. I've seen him do some things in the weight room that I was extremely impressed with. And also his work ethics are tremendous and right up there with Dexter and Burns. Definitely like the way he's coming off the ball. He's attacking, got a high motor, stays in great shape. He's always in phenomenal shape. He's just an impact type guy, man. And I think as the season goes on, you'll see more and more of him and Burns creating chaos off the edges. And then, of course, with Dexter being in there, they got to pay a lot of attention to him. So it's going to free up some guys to be able to make more plays.
For sure. And we'll definitely talk about Dexter Lawrence in a little bit as well. But I want to touch on some of the things that you mentioned with Kayvon Thibodeaux, the work ethic and the strength. That was something that grabbed attention this offseason. He had a lot of videos that he was posting. I think he launched his own YouTube channel, but on that channel, he was showing everybody his routine and what he was going through. And one of the main takeaways that Giants fans had was when he demonstrated how he's now training in wrestling and in an effort to get better at tackling, bringing the guy down. And I thought that was really interesting. And, yourself as a defensive line coach and trainer, I want to get your take on it and kind of get your impression on a defensive lineman, an edge, Kayvon Thibodeaux himself, training in the art of wrestling in order to become a better tackler. What are your thoughts on that?
So that's actually funny you asked that. So my base was boxing. I came up a Brooklyn kid, football and back in those days wasn't like that. It was mainly basketball. So my base was a lot of boxing. And what that did was it helped me to be able to get my hands out faster, strike, and strike with quickness and twitch. And I think that's some of the same things he's looking for in regards to, staying off the ground, being able to play with great leverage, being able to counter what they're doing, man. I think I think he's made an excellent decision on how he goes about his business in regards to the offseason and stuff like that. And he's always seems to be getting into work. I mean, if you look at his frame, he's always in tremendous shape. But wrestling, I worked with Kenny Clark for many years. Kenny Clark was a championship wrestler. So it's definitely a direct correlation there. I think a lot of people, when they look at it, they may not understand why he's doing that. But he knows the why. I know the why. And I think other people who understand the position of defensive line know the why. And it's just going to help him more and more and more to be in that attack mode, to be in that when he does make contact with an offensive lineman, he's being able to transition and stuff like that. I respect him a lot for that. And he seems to be very consistent and had the love that he needs to be successful in this league. So, my hat's off to him, man. Great kid, great work ethics, man. I got nothing negative to say about Kayvon, man, for sure.
Yeah, Kayvon's been super impressive, getting off to a hot start this season. He's somebody that is a Giants fan favorite, former number 5 overall pick, but now really starting to maybe realize some of the potential from the past. Had 11 and a half sacks in 2023. Last year, a little bit of a step back, was dealing with some injuries, but this year, off to a really strong start, as is Brian Burns, who we discuss as well. And you mentioned that Brian Burns. I mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau, some of the stuff that we've seen from him in the offseason, his work ethic. With Brian Burns, the background that you might have with him or just from watching him, seeing any film on him, that work ethic. Can you speak to his effort level, his high motor, and everything that he brings to the table, and why it's showing up in such a major way this season as opposed to maybe last year, 8 sacks, whatever, but this year he's already got half of that. He's already got 4 sacks, such a strong start. Can you speak to that, motor that he has?
Just the comfortability, man. Like, he just seems to be more comfortable with being in New York and getting used to, New York's a tough city, the limelight and stuff like that, and the expectations. He just seems a lot more comfortable. And I know his brother does a lot of work with him, man. His brother is just a hell of a guy. I built a relationship with his brother when Brian was in high school. And he's just a hell of a dude. And I know he's always making sure he's working and watching film and being able to, to address things that he needs to address. But when I see him, these last 2-3 games, it was just the way he was going about his business, his leverage and his speed off the ball, his anticipation. It's like it's all tied in now. And then I think he has so much confidence that he's going to be able to attack the way he wants to, because he has a supporting cast that they must pay attention to. And that's tremendous. When you got 2 people in the house paying bills probably get paid a little faster. You know what I mean? So he's just been able to kind of pin his ears back and just go and not have to worry about what's coming from the backside. Is the guy going to run up the middle? You know what I mean? And he's not worried about getting booted. Who the hell's going to outrun him? And the kid runs 4.5. I mean, who's going to outrun him? So he's just playing with way more confidence. He's playing with a tremendous amount of leverage, speed, and power. And then his motor is just impeccable. You're not going to find too many guys with the motor that he has, with the frame that he had. You're talking about a 6'5" kid that can just run like a cheetah. So, I mean, it's just playing into his hands right now. All he has to do is just continue to play the way he's playing. I know he's going to do that. Stay healthy, and this guy's, and we only had to think about a Pro Bowl and stuff like that. This kid, he's looking to be the MVP right now if you look at him.
Yeah, he is. And that's one thing you mentioned there, staying healthy. Brian Burns played in all 17 games last season, but he was on the injury report for probably at least 8 of the weeks of the season. He always plays through the injuries, and I give him so much credit and respect for that. Even on Sunday night against the Chiefs, he got a little bit banged up, as you mentioned, was right back in the game on the next drive. So I just think his motor, his ethic, and his ability to fight through all that adversity is super impressive. And it's kind of exactly what the New York Giants need, just a leader by example on that defensive line and in that locker room. And they have a couple of those guys, Dexter Lawrence, of course, also being one of those. And that's who I want to go to next, because I think Dexter Lawrence, no matter what, when he's on the field, he's an impact player. Offensive linemen, they have to key in on him. He's getting double teamed. He's getting triple teamed. I think the statistic is he's the most double teamed defensive lineman in the NFL over the last 3 years. Makes sense. I mean, how do you move that guy in space? But so far this season, there's been some Giants fans who have kind of been questioning us in the comment section. Hey, what's up with Dexter? Maybe he's not showing up in the stat sheet. Last year, he got off to a hot start. He had a whole bunch of sacks early in the season. He was on pace for double digits before the injury. So I want to get your perspective on it. What has he been doing that's impressive? He looks good to me, but it's not showing up on the stat sheet. But can you clarify to fans that the stat sheet isn't everything and tell us what he's doing that's so great for the Giants defense?
See, that's one thing too. Like he's been spoiled, you know. He came out there last year with that 9-piece, and he got him spoiled. And New York, man, come on, they want to see it all the time. But what they have to understand is when you get a defensive tackle or one technique in particular getting 9 sacks, do you actually think he's going to go in next year and they're just going to leave him on one-on-ones and doubles all the time? He's always going to get the slide. He's always going to get the double team. He's going to get the triples. They're going to run away from him. So he's going to be in attack mode the whole game. And it's so funny we're talking about this because that was one of the main conversations me and Dexter had this summer about, hey, you already know based off of what you did last year, this year is going to be a lot tougher. You're going to be facing a tremendous amount of double team. I think it's up in the 90-something% right now. You're going to be it's just going to happen that way. So, the number one thing is he just has to keep attacking, keep attacking. And it help if you move him around a little bit, try to get him some one-on-one matchup. I just don't think he's going to get those matchups. So I think that everything he gets statistically is going to be very hard-earned. And that's just going to be the case. And I understand Giants fans and New York fans and stuff like that, but that's the reason you go get a Brian Burns. That's the reason why you go get a Carter and you keep a Thibodeau, because they're going to do all the work to Dexter down there. If Dexter finishes this year with half the amount of sacks he had last year, I still think it's a hell of a season just based on what do the edges have. You got double digits on the edge, and if Dex can give you half the production, you are fucking balling. You know what I mean? So I know what Dexter can do. I know how consistent he is. I think that the New York fans obviously know what he can do. We're going into the fourth game. Just keep being patient, and the objective is to just stop people. And that's what they've been doing good so far. They've been trying their best to stop people. But with Dexter, man, it's just about keep picking the lock, like I always tell them. Just go out there and make sure you're playing off your hands. Take your shots here and there, and just keep being you. And I tell them that every day, man. Just keep being you, because you're a great person. You're a great defensive lineman in this league, and that's one of the most important things for him. One thing about Dexter, he doesn't lack confidence. He knows that his opportunity is going to come, and he's going to take advantage of them. So I never get concerned about him in regards to playing hard, in regards to making plays and stuff like that, because Dexter's going to take care of business. So I don't think they got to worry. Just make sure they keep him healthy. Make sure they keep those guys on the edges doing their thing, and it's going to come right to them.
Absolutely. One thing you mentioned there that I want to touch on a little bit further, moving him around the defensive line, trying to find him different opportunities to get some one-on-one matchups that he's likely not going to get. That's something in particular that I've seen some discourse from Giants fans on social media about. In the past, there's been a lot of excitement around the fact that Dexter Lawrence, when he plays the zero tech, when he's that pure nose tackle, there's statistics that he has a lot of pressures. He has far and away more pressures than anybody else in that alignment on the defensive line. But this year, he's been playing the zero a little bit less. He's played some 2, he's played some 3. He's kind of moved around the defensive line more. And so some Giants fans have pointed to the defensive coordinator with questions or just general questions about what's going on there. So if you could just add some clarity to them that this is part of the plan, part of the process, and actually a good thing for Dexter Lawrence.
Well, think about it. It's always a good thing when you can get an inside guy to play multiple positions. That increases his value. That increases your chances of him creating a one-on-one matchup. That makes the line get out of character and do things that they don't want to do. It disrupts blocking scheme. I mean, it does a multiple amount of things. So just because he hasn't jumped out there and get all these sacks like everybody, when people get spoiled by numbers, does not mean that he's not being productive in that defense. There's multiple ways to impact a game other than sacks, and I tell guys that all the time. When you start talking about pushing the pocket, making the pocket dirty, tackles for losses, doing damage to offensive linemen, breaking them down, to try to block a guy like Dexter for 4 quarters. Do you know what the kind of attrition that game is going to impact on the offensive lineman? So all those different things. And I think the way they move him around, they've been doing a really good job. I think that as the season progresses, you'll start seeing more and more openings for him to be able to attack, like I said, because of those edges. So, again, I never get concerned about that type of stuff. I just sit back and watch, and haven't been able to speak with Dexter lately. But when I get him on the phone, we're just going to talk about what he's seeing, what he's thinking, and if I can give him some advice on things here and there, then I'm sure he'll be more than open to take it and to see if it can help him out in certain situations.
For sure. Excited for that. Excited for you to link back up with him, do some more great work. But you mentioned those edge rushers again. And now I want to get your take on Abdul Carter, number 3 overall pick in this draft. And you've mentioned it a couple of times, the New York fans, the New York media, and just the environment. It's a tough one to step into. But Carter's one of those guys who stepped in and embraced the whole shebang. Like, he loved walking into New York and being greeted by New York Giants fans. But so far, he hasn't had the production again. And so Giants fans, especially in our comment sections, have a lot of questions. Why is there not production? Now, the Giants have also had some injuries at linebacker, and as a result, they've had to move Abdul Carter around. They've had to have him move over to the off-ball linebacker position, move to the edge, move to the interior. He's been all over the place. And so I just want to get from seasoned professional, somebody who knows what they're seeing, what's been impressive about Abdul Carter? What have you seen from him that you've taken away and say, okay, the Giants did get a special talent there?
The first thing I noticed was his ability to not be afraid to rush from the inside. I see that they stand him up and they rush him at the one technique, and he seems to have a lot of confidence doing that. I mean, he is full throttle. He's not worried about a double. He's not worried about getting blocked by a bigger guy. That's one of the most impressive things that I've seen in him, even before the season started. Like, he has no fear. And when you get a guy like that with that type of athletic ability, that type of speed, twitch, and he does have power with no fear, I mean, it's going to disrupt things sooner or later. In regards to like how they're using him, well, you got a first-round draft pick over here in Thibodeau. You got a first-round draft pick over there in Burns, who are productive guys. It's not like they have a drop-off. So for them to be able to like incorporate him into the defense, it's going to look a little different. They're going to have to back him off the ball. They're going to have to bring him down in the box. They're just trying to, I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife. They're using him the same way Dallas used Micah Parsons. You know what I'm saying? So it's basically the same. They're kind of in the mode of the same type of guy. They're weapons. And if you know how to utilize them properly, there's an unlimited amount of things you could do for them and for your team. So I think that's just one of those things. And if you really look at the teams they played, have these teams been throwing the ball a hell of a lot? No. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're getting out there and they're getting Pearl Harbor and the quarterbacks are just sitting back there with a clean pocket and nobody's getting to them. So if your edges are doing their job, like, why would you pull them off and put him on full time? I mean, they haven't, the way they use him is amazing. I mean, I love the way they use him. I love how he rushes, and I love his confidence. And I think, we put too much pressure on these first round guys in regards to why they're doing it right now. Well, he still has to go in there and learn the scheme. He still has to go in there and learn how to be a pro. He still has to adjust to the city. There's so many different things that he has to adjust to, along with getting out there and trying to play and be productive. So just, get a guy a little time, man. I think that, you'll definitely see what you want to see due time. We're going into week 4. How many weeks we got left? 13 weeks left. That's a lot of time. So I don't think they're worried. I don't think he's concerned. Of course, anybody would want to have 6 sacks right about now, but realistically, with the guys they got across the front, they're going to be fighting for sacks up there now, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, they're, as much as they're competing with the offensive linemen, they're competing with each other to get after the quarterback too.
Right.
So I think that's always important for fans to recognize. But something that you said there that I want to highlight again, you mentioned with these first round guys, they step in and fans are like, why aren't we seeing it right now? In New York, it's different. You can be a 4th, 5th, 6th round guy, and Giants fans, they want to see it right now. And so I want to ask you about Darius Alexander, who the Giants drafted in the 3rd round. I know that you trained him this offseason and that you worked with him. And Alexander didn't suit up in week 1. Some Giants fans were wondering why that might be the case. He maybe had a slower start during the preseason than some of them would have expected. And, I said on the show so many times, guys, he is a 3rd round rookie. If you're expecting him to step in and give you double-digit sacks, I don't know what your realistic expectations are for any football team. But I want to kind of get your perspective on it. For Alexander, you kind of mentioned it with Carter there. He's adjusting to the NFL level. He's learning the scheme. I'm sure a lot of the sentiment is similar for Alexander, but I want to get your take on, what you've seen from him so far and what expectations Giants fans should have for him.
Well, first off, with him, like at this particular time, who's he going to play in front of us? You know what I mean? The Giants seem to want to have a veteran defensive line. They brought in Roy and guys like that. So they want to have more vets up there. So he's spot playing behind Roy and things like that. But what I did see the other night, man, when I was watching, he's physical. He wants to be physical. He was using great extension the other night. He just, it's just being more disciplined for him, not peeking in gaps, pushing the pocket, and being able to release off of blocks. It's just, he's going to have to just keep on working on that. But I did see the physicality. I did see the extension. I did see the motor. I did see him chatting, talking shit to guys and stuff like that, which means that he's mentally in the game. He's not afraid. So I'm seeing what I need to see at this particular time. I was never expecting for him to go out there and just have this crazy year right out the gate just based off of where he was going to play. And the depth that they already have. I feel he's got great size. He's a good athlete. He can run. He's strong as shit. So they got themselves another piece to the puzzle, man. It's just how they're implementing him. And they're trying to feed him slowly. They're not trying to give him everything at one time. He's coming from a mid-major school like, Toledo. So he's going to be, it's going to take him some time to adjust to the speed and the blocking scheme of the league. That's one of the things this summer that, I just kept, trying to get in his head, hey, it's going to be different. The speed's going to be different. Although he didn't have the chance to work with me the whole summer, he did work with enough time for him to understand, like, just be patient. Your time's going to come. And when that time comes, you got to be ready.
That's right. And I think that message that you gave Darius Alexander about being patient, when it's your time, it'll come. Giants fans need to hear that message. I think that's really what we need to get across.
Right.
Yeah. This is a fan base that wants it all and they want it now. And you can't blame them. There's been a lot of losing in recent seasons, of course. And 0-3 start, not what anybody had dreamed of for the season. So you can't exactly blame the fans for being impatient and wanting it all. But I think it's just always great to get perspective, especially from a pro like yourself who knows what he's seeing and can really break it down for people to kind of get that perspective and say, hey, look, there are a lot of positives to take away. This is a good defensive line. There's a lot of talent there. Got to be patient with it and it will come together. But so far it has been so good.
For sure. The continuity, that's the number one thing, man. Just being able to have that continuity, being able to play together, being able to feed off of one another. That's the biggest thing when it comes to this type of stuff. So again, me being in New York, I understand, like, it's tough. It's tough to watch. I'll watch the Knicks, man. Back in the day, we would lose to lose to the Bulls, lose to the Pacers, and it was frustrating. But I'm still a Knicks fan to this day. So just be patient, man, and I think the expectation should be there based off what they got, the kind of money they're spending, and I think the fans have a reason to voice their opinion on what they feel. That's just how it is. So, but I will say this again. I'm gonna use the word patience and. And let's see what happens.
For sure. Patience is everything. It's a real virtue. You mentioned the Knicks there. Season's right around the corner. You excited? You think the Knicks are making it to the finals finally?
I just didn't understand the firing of the coach. I didn't get it. But so I don't even know. I mean, like, when you make decisions like that up front, I don't know what the next move is. Like, you know what I mean? I don't. But they have their reasons, and I don't own a team. I don't know. I don't general manage anything, so I don't know. I just run what I got. But based off of that, that was kind of – it was surprising. So I hope we can get out there, and kind of reproduce what we did last year. We still have the same roster pretty much intact. If we could just add a couple more pieces, get a little bigger, and let's see what we could do, man. But it doesn't matter to me, man. I'm a Knicks fan for life.
For sure. Yeah. It was a confusing decision for me too, but I'm a little bit more of a casual basketball fan. My heart's really in football, but it looks like the Knicks did improve their bench, and that's what they really needed to do. They added some bench scoring, and when you've got Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, I think you're pretty certain you can make a deep playoff run every year. So that should be fun. I'm excited for that, getting some good New York sports teams out there. Yankees clinch their playoff spot. So,
sure.
But Yeah, I appreciate you joining me, Mark. Why don't you tell the people where they can find you, what you're up to, and anything else that you're happy to share?
Oh man, you know I'm always on Instagram. You see Mark Hall Enterprises, man. Right now I'm in Indy, working with one of my players, man. I pretty much I'm here for the whole season, and during the season we're working on a lot of tech work, a lot of film study, breaking down offensive line, and just trying to come up with a legitimate rush plan and how we want to go about our business and stuff like that. So that's pretty much what I do in during the season. Very taxing, obviously a lot of hard work, a lot of time. So, but I've done this for years. It's no big deal. It's just a part of the whole, the business plan. So, yeah, man. Again, obviously the Colts are 3-0 right now. One of the biggest starts in years. They're excited going into this game against the Rams. The Rams are a pretty good team, very formidable opponent. So, hopefully they can come out of there and get some points and slow them down, and man, and come out with a win.
For sure. Hopefully, I know a lot of Giants fans are rooting for the Colts. Daniel Jones heading over there. A lot of Giants fans never wanted to see him go, and they're excited to see this hot start over for Indianapolis. So lots of fun, man. Really do appreciate you joining me once again, and looking forward to having you on again in the future.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.